Thanks, Aaron, and good evening, everyone. Awesome to see so many people here, such a stellar lineup. It's my honour to be reading Prayers by Kristian Doyle. It's an absolutely beautiful little book, and feel very privileged to be able to read this to you as part of the launch. And as I was reading this, for me, this is really, as it says kind of on the description of the book, really kind of meditative on both mortality, grief, and you know, kind of the inevitability of, you know, eventual death and life's complexities. And I think that the way that it reads, the way that it's written is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to read straight from the beginning, and this is Prayers by the wonderful Kristian Doyle. That we will believe again rather than still. That we would be capable of answering with a single word. That our lacks would always lack us. That our mother would appear in a dream, not shadowy or hidden, but wholly there, addressing us. That the plant we cut from her plant would grow more quickly. That we will, as a way to stop thinking, become mystics. That we will not become mystics. That we would fuss with the Gordian knot rather than cut it. That the falling light outside will not fall in us. That the second hand could stick. That set dresses would not fill drawers whose insides the audience cannot see. That the conditions will never be just right. That we will not ask for yet another voice in case it proliferates. That the industrial bakery with its scent would be closer. That Montaigne would at least once mention his mother. That the asymmetry of others' faces in mirrors would not be metaphysically jarring. That we will discard anything with more than one unintentional hole in. That it would be possible to say, no, I have not read Wittgenstein. That we will hear TikTok for what it really is, tick, tick. That fewer things will be glossy. That we will not feel thirsty merely because we don't have a drink. That we will laugh less ostentatiously when we don't understand the joke. That someone would say, take a lot, take two. That the finished would not always be inferior to the un. That night thought would weigh the same as morning thought. That the rest of the orchestra will always be busy with its own playing. That when someone hasn't heard what we've said and asks us to repeat it, we'll repeat it without changing a word. That Hamlet's best audience would not be himself. That we will know the date as a matter of course. That not using our faults will not cause us to forget we have them. That diaristic writing would not always be working secretly on behalf of the past. That people would believe it when thanked. That we could answer any question to which we knew the answer. That we will scratch nothing. That churches would not have for sale signs on them. That we could find a usable synonym for hello. that we will not cry about someone's predicament in front of the person whose predicament it is, that we will crouch in the kitchen to look at the snail's moonlit tracks, that peace would not depend entirely on the ability to suffer well, that our inherited aneurysm won't rupture, that our grandmother will think of her daughter hardly ever, that psyche will again be a translation of soul, that ceilings will continue when stared at long enough to appear to be their own rooms, that we will not feel guilty turning plants around when they grow lopsidedly towards the sun, that the orange candle we bought when we moved out will always have that sharp reminding holiday stink, that we will never fall below 9.5 stone, that we will not be the compass of our own seas, that we will say words now and again merely for their sound, but not in public, that we will not suffer any more epiphanies, that every reading would not be a first reading, that we could love someone without pitying their childhood, that the present would not fill out only in remembrance, that the blue sky will continue to demand new descriptions for itself, that the world would not begin talking only after we're in the hallway, coat on, that our happiness for others' happiness would last longer, that we will wish people Merry Christmas first, that gallery and museum visitors would not walk with that strange, obsequious stoop, that flirting would continue to be the basis of friendship, that we will be pitied only when trying to be pitiful, that we could always see the difference between refining and blunting, that we will be wary of grains of sand, that churches will not echo so loudly, that we will no longer look down on everyone else's grieving because of our own particular experience of loss, that we will actually believe in the legitimacy of other forms of grieving rather than merely saying so, that if our aneurysm does rupture, we, like our still young mother, will die instantly, that there will not always be someone, somewhere, something, that less will be less, that more will be more, that enough will be enough, that we will stop checking the door is locked, that we will stop checking the oven is off, that we will not every night before sleep find and then touch our keys, that we will not every night before sleep turn the floor lamp away from us in case it falls in the night, that we will let go of the idea that things often fall of their own accord in the night, that all neighbours would not ultimately be eerie, that no one upon receiving a gift would say to the giver the name of the gift, that we will stop highlighting lines in books as a way of deferring properly reading them, that ephemerality will not always add value, that we will make it to at least 45, no, 50, that we will not use melodramatic phrases like make it to, that someone will say cold green summer night, that we will stop pausing films in order to comment, that we could dismiss our own opinions as we would the opinions of others, that snow will continue to make cushions of itself, that we would stop asking about etiquette, that we will buy a warm coat, one we can get several winters out of, that drivers will continue to splash passers-by, that the worst fog in years will come at least yearly, that the memories we have of our mother will slow in their dimming, that we would feel something without thinking about it, that someone would say, in 10 years, these shoes won't owe you a penny, that we will take the night's walks we've always thought about, that we will not take the night walks we've always thought about, in case they're nothing like the night walks we've always thought about, that nostalgia would not be the tastiest form of ingratitude, that we would not envy the crucifixion, that we will stop seeing time as a unit of investment, that we will no longer look into every high-ceilinged room we pass in the street, that smoking chimneys in foreign cities will never be our interlocutors, that we will no longer need repotting, that we will still know the sound of our mother's voice, that we will still be able to mimic our mother's voice, that we will still remember her verbal expressions, that we will still remember her physical expressions, that warped window glass would still craze the roots of planes. Thank you very much, everyone. It's an awesome book. Go and check it out.